Do you like to go on long hikes?
We have a really good one for you.
Hello, and welcome to Around the World with Joshua and Alyssa. Merry Christmas! Last week we had some Christmas gifts hidden in plain view in our image here that you're looking at, and I'm sure you may have found them. This week we have something different, but with this being just a couple days after Christmas, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas and hope it was a good one, and hope that 2021 will be just as good and better than 2020 for you.
Yep.
So, we are going to tell you today some more about the Grand Canyon and the time that we went down into it instead of just standing at the top. There are many trails in the canyon, and one of the really well-known ones, is the Bright Angel Trail. And so we decided to take part of it. We did not hike the whole thing because you could do that for like 3 days if you take the whole thing. You can camp inside the canyon, and we didn't have time for all that, so we just took a 4-mile hike down, or 4.5 mile hike down and 4.5 miles up, so 9 miles round trip. And this gives you an idea of what the trail looks like. It's actually really well maintained, and with so many people walking on it, it's not hard at all to see where the trail goes. But it's also very dry and dusty, and with all the people walking on it, it just takes out any moisture that might be there and just kicks up all the dust. So it's a pretty dusty trail, as you might be able to tell from here. Here's a view from farther away of what the trail looks like. And so it's not too steep, but because of that, it takes a very long time to get down because you're going at a gradual descent all the way down, like a mile deep-ish into this thing. And so overall, a several mile long hike. Along the way, there are different rest places. At the 1.5 mile mark, there is this, what they call the 1.5 mile rest house. They also have one at the 3 mile mark, and they have something kind of like that at the 4.5 mile mark, although it's a little different. It doesn't have a full bathroom like these other two did. These others also, as you can see on the sign, they're supposed to have water, actual water from one of the springs in the canyon. It's clean and you can drink it. But they had it turned off when we went in November.
They're getting ready for winter.
And so we couldn't access that. We had to bring all of our water down with us. But they do have that there. They even have an emergency phone if you need it. And they have rangers along the trail that can tell you more about the canyon, and they can give you advice as you're going down and coming back out. This is one of the places where we stopped for a couple pictures just to sit down. It was a nice resting spot. You can see all the different layers, sedimentary layers that were laid down just nicely right there and have fallen away and eroded as time has gone on. And here's a view looking back up at the rock face from down inside. And you can't really tell from this picture how high these things really are and how huge they are when you're standing down there. Here's a view as we were coming back up out of it, and the sun was starting to go down, and you can see really well all the different layers and the different colors of each layer here of the canyon. We did see some more wildlife as we were going down. We saw these bighorn sheep, and there were about 4 of them, I think, just right next to the trail, and they just sat there and looked at us from like 10 feet away.
Yep.
I think they're used to visitors. Another view, this is when we were down a lot farther into the canyon, and as you start at the top and go down, it gets warmer and warmer near the bottom, interestingly enough. And so once you get to the bottom, it was fairly hot, and then there was not much shade down there, so it was like walking through a desert all of a sudden. So that's kind of what you see here. Here is the trail on our way back up. Round trip, this was what, a 5.5 hour trip for us? Something like that.
Yeah.
I think because we started around 10:30 and we got out around 4 p.m., I believe. And so about 2 hours down, and then we got up in about 3.5 hours. Normally they say that you double your time coming back, but we were going at a little quicker pace on the way up. We had other things we wanted to do before the sun was gone. Oh, also along the way, they have mules that people can ride down and back instead of walking. And so as you're going along, you always have to watch your step so you're not
stepping in yucky stuff.
Yeah, gritty. You can see a little bit of that in this picture.
But you can see the trail over, like you can see where the trail came from right before it got to what's in the edge of the picture. And then you can even see some more trail, I think, farther down. So the trail just keeps going and doing those little like back and forth switchback things.
Yep, all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And when we finally got back up to the top, we took one more picture because we had done it and we were happy. And we actually looked pretty good for having just gone on a long, sweaty hike.
We did a good job though.
Yeah, it was fun. And so if you were to go to the Grand Canyon, if you go with young ones, you can just walk along the rim, no problem. Mm-hmm. If you want to go and be a little more adventurous, you can walk down inside it. And if you really want to go on a journey, you can sleep in the canyon at one of the camps there and walk down, backpack down into the canyon, then come back out the next day or a couple days later, depending on how much time you have. And so, yeah, a lot to do there.
Yep. Lots of fun. Want to hear some more story?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. Have some more story on Corrie Ten Boom. So we ended our story last time with Corrie with her sister who was teaching Sunday school, and her sister asked, hey, do you think you can teach Sunday school too? So let's see how this goes for Corrie today. So Betsy, Corrie's older sister, taught in a Sunday school class. One day she said, Corrie, why don't you come along next time and tell the Bible story? It's a really easy one. It's the story of the feeding of the 5,000 people. Well, Corrie didn't mind. She knew that story really well, and she thought she could tell it to the other children. But would she be able to tell it as well as Betsy told stories? She didn't really know, but anyways, she decided to go ahead and tell the story. After 5 minutes, Corrie finished the whole story. The children were surprised. That was a really quick story. Corrie looked helplessly at Betsy, and she didn't know what to do next. So Betsy took over and told the story again. I'm never going to do that again, said Corrie when they got home. Come on, said Betsy. You don't have to have such a bad opinion of yourself. It doesn't matter if it didn't go well the first time. You'll learn for next time. Fortunately, Corrie didn't give up. One of her friends is a teacher at a Christian school, and Corrie asked if she could tell a Bible story to the children in her class several times a week. And her friend let her do it. By teaching there, Corrie learned to teach so well that the children liked listening to her. She even got special permission to teach about God in the public schools. Before Corrie went to a school to teach, she always asked God to show her what he wanted her to teach about. One of the schools that Corrie went to visit was a school for children with learning disabilities. Some of them couldn't remember what was taught in their classes at school, but they did remember the Bible stories Corrie told them because they were about Jesus. And those children really began to love Jesus. They had a hard time with math, they couldn't understand their geography, but they did understand that God didn't like it when they did wrong things, and that Jesus had died on the cross to make a special way for them to spend forever in heaven and to have their sins forgiven. Was that because Corrie could tell stories so well? Nope. It's because Corrie had asked for the Holy Spirit to help her and help these children understand the difficult things of the Bible. Corrie decided to start some church services on Sunday afternoon for people who had some of these disabilities. These people had trouble understanding a normal church service, but then they were too old for the little kids' classes. But many of these people came to know Jesus in Corrie's services. And the people without disabilities were so surprised to see how much these people loved Jesus. So Corrie looked for people who needed a little extra love, and she spent time loving them. There were so many things Corrie wanted to do. One day she said to her father, I want to become A watchmaker. That's good, said her father. I hope you could become a better watchmaker than I am. That was amazing because her father was really one of the best watchmakers in all of Holland. Though Corrie never became a really good watchmaker like her father, she worked hard and she did get her watchmaker certificate. She was one of the first female watchmakers in Holland to get that certificate. Repairing watches is very hard work, and it takes a lot of patience. It taught Corrie some important things about living for God. Sometimes you have to be patient, and you have to wait for God's time. Watch parts are very, very small. When you work on a watch, your hands can't shake even a little bit. If Corrie's hands would shake, she would pray, God, would you please put your hand on mine? Then her hands would stop shaking. As the years went by, things changed in Corrie's house. The 3 aunts grew older and died. Corrie's mother had been sick for so long that she also died and went to heaven. Nolly and Willem married and had children of their own, and there was just Betsy, Corrie, and their father living at their home in Haarlem. But not for long. One evening, Willem came to visit them. He told about some missionaries who were going to Indonesia, but they couldn't take their children with them because there were no schools there. So Hardy and his sisters, Puck and Hans, came to live with the Ten Boom family. They loved staying at the Ten Boom's house, and they weren't the only ones. Other girls came to live with the Ten Boom family, and soon their house was full. It was like one big happy family all again. Betsy did the cooking and took care of the clothes. When she sewed a dress for one of the girls, she wrote a letter to their parents and included a little paper on the material to let them see what it was like. The missionaries couldn't afford to pay the Ten Booms for letting their children live there. The family trusted God to take care of their needs, and God met them. One time, Corrie came home with news that she had sold a very expensive watch, and everyone cheered. Now I'll get a new dress, one shouted, and I'll get new shoes, another one called out. Mr. Ten Boom was very proud of the children. They're very sweet and obedient, he said, and they don't argue. Corrie smiled. Oh, Father, love is blind, she said. She had just sent Puck upstairs for arguing with his sister. Puck, do you know it's very bad to hate someone? Jesus tells us that we should love our enemies. But I can't love my sister. If you believe in Jesus, he can help you love her. Why don't you give God a chance to help you learn to love your sister? And they prayed together. Puck told God that he was sorry for hating his sister and asked him to forgive him and help him to love. And after that, they became much better friends. God used what she learned from Corrie while staying at the Ten Boom's house, and many years later, when they were all grown up and living in Indonesia, they were in a prison camp. The guards were very mean, and it's very difficult to love people like that. But they were thankful to know that God wanted them to love their enemies, just like Corrie had taught them so many years before. Corrie liked doing lots of things to help others learn about Jesus. She started a club for girls. There were all kinds of things they could do: play music, make crafts, do gymnastics. No matter what the activity was, they always heard about Jesus. Many girls did not come to the club to hear about Jesus, but most of them came just because they wanted to enjoy themselves. One of the girls was a girl named Annie. She was part of the singing and the English and the gymnastic groups. Corrie was also at the gymnastic group, but not because she was very good at it. Sometimes she did not manage to get off the swinging rings and the girls had to come help her down. Halfway through the club hour, she'd blow a whistle and all the girls would come and sit around her, and Corrie would tell them something about Jesus. Then after that, they could get back to all their gym time. That was where Annie heard about Jesus for the first time. One day, Annie was so angry with the gym teacher, she sewed up his pants and put water in his shoes. Corrie was very angry, and she told Annie not to come back to the club for 3 weeks. However, the following week, Annie came back, but Corrie didn't say anything. During the summer, they had camps for the girls. The girls from the Ten Boom house also went along to help. They learned so much at the camps, they started some clubs of their own. The girls enjoyed themselves. One of the girls walked in her sleep, and Corrie was very worried about that. Every time she walked in her sleep, Corrie carefully brought her back to bed, but it turned out the sleepwalker had a really good appetite, and she ate all the chocolate bars they brought with them. One night when they were all sitting around the campfire, everybody was very serious. They sang together and talked about God, but Annie was very sad one of those nights. She had just broken up with her boyfriend, and while everyone was sitting around the campfire, Corrie said, when you're in trouble and you don't know what the answer is, tell God about it. He knows your past, he knows your present, and he holds your future in his hands. It was that night that Annie believed in Jesus as her savior. After that, whenever she was feeling really sad, she would think back to what Corrie said, and it helped her. In 1939, the Second World War got started. Holland, the country where Corrie Ten Boom was living, was involved in the war, and clubs like Corrie's weren't allowed to meet anymore. In secret, Corrie met with a few girls just one more time. They sang the national anthem of Holland, and the girls started crying. "Girls, we shouldn't be crying," Corrie said. "We've had lots of fun, but the most important thing that we've heard about is Jesus. He has our past, our present, and our future in his hands. Even though things are uncertain and we don't know what's going to happen, God is still in control." It was a very difficult time for Corrie and the girls, but they learned many lessons during this time. So what other things do you think would change with the war coming? And do you think Corrie's going to be able to do the right thing, even though it's going to get really hard? And there are going to be a lot of really hard things coming in the next part of our story. You'll have to come back next week and see what happens.
I will be here.
Oh, good.
Okay, Alyssa is now going to tell us about one of her friends, one of her missionary friends, someone who we have introduced you to before, but it has been quite a while since we've done that. So she's going to give you an update on this person.
Yeah, so we're going to talk today about my friend JR, and he is in Puerto Maldonado in Peru. And I think we talked about him maybe back in April or something like that. It's a long time.
Yep.
So he's still in Peru, and I asked him a few questions about what his ministry is like, and then he sent some pictures and gave us some things to pray about for him. So I asked him about the lockdown. He said the lockdown for COVID was really strict. They had 200 days in quarantine, and that's not like quarantine here, like you can go to the grocery store. It was like in your house. And he said a lot of the time they had police and soldiers on the corners making sure everybody was following the rules. There was even a time when only men could leave on certain days and only women could leave on other days. And they weren't supposed to leave their house unless they were buying food, going to the bank, or going to the doctor. So it was really strict. And they have to wear masks outside and in all of the stores. So I don't think I'd like that part.
Nope.
With the current restrictions, many of the businesses that were closed have slowly started to open again, and they just got to start having church services. And this was a time during the lockdown where they got to have a lot of people from the community come, and they gave them some packages with just some basic supplies and some food that they could give away to the people.
And toilet paper.
Yep.
I see a lot of toilet paper in there.
All the important things. And look at how much of the village came all lined up and ready to come get them. And the guy in the first picture, he is a Peruvian who I also know. His name is Daniel, and he and JR are working together out there. And his wife actually got COVID and was really sick, but thankfully she's doing much better now. So they had an opportunity as a church to pass out lots of food and supplies to the people. He said many of the people in his church did get the virus, but thankfully none of them had any serious complications. Many of the families in his church were unable to work for 3 to 4 months, which made it hard for them to buy food and to pay their rent. And he said when they gave away this food and stuff, they gave about 1,000 bags of food to people in their town and nearby towns who were struggling.
Good job.
Yeah, it's a lot. I asked about what it's like for the kids, and he said the kids haven't been able to go back to school, and it sounds like they won't be able to go to school until March. So that's a long time.
Is everybody's desk in the classroom like that?
Well, this is his library, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
That's okay.
So they haven't gotten to go back to school yet, but he is able to have them at his library. Okay. We'll get to that in a second. So many of the kids are super far behind in their schooling because they really don't have the ability to do all their school at home like the kids here, and the parents are trying to work, and so it just doesn't work. But there have been some soccer clubs that have started to open up again, and then some of the kids are playing with their friends in the neighborhood. And he said that God was super great through all of this. He provided just what they needed and gave them lots of opportunities to share with the people in their neighborhood. So this is his library ministry, and JR is super excited because they just got to reopen again. And he has books and stuff. This was a day where they did a craft a Christmas craft with the kids. And they get to come and he can talk with them and help them on their schoolwork and share the gospel and just be really encouraging for the kids. He said many of the kids who come to the library have never attended church and don't know anything about the Bible or about Jesus. So he asked if we would pray for them as they share the Bible and that God would allow them to see their need for Jesus. And they're also getting ready for a Christmas program here in a little bit. Oh, there he is with a friend. Such a bummer everybody has to wear masks. You've missed seeing everybody's face. But they are getting ready for a Christmas program, and I think they did the first part of it just this week, earlier in the week. And they were like packaging little goodies and stuff to give away to the kids and to their families as they came for the program. And they will have lots of different activities and opportunities to share the gospel with the kids and with their families. So we can be praying for JR and his ministry in Peru, and we can be so thankful that they get to have their little library time again and that God is allowing them to share the gospel with the people in Peru.
Yeah.
In the jungle.
That's a nice update.
Yeah.
Glad to hear. Well, next time we see you will be 2021.
Yikes.
So, wait, is that right? That is right.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Okay. For some reason, I just started to doubt myself because the way the calendar is laid out this month is a little strange to me. But anyway, we will see you next year. Thank you for joining us this year as we got started and for staying with us as we keep going. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Yep. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.